Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And we are from group 7. And then today we would like to analyzing about our novel with the title Emma from Jane Austen. And then this novel was created and published by Global Grey on 2018. And then you you also may read by self with you open link in globalgraybooks.com. And then I will explain to you about what is the novel, and then what is the story from this novel. And then see you guys and enjoy.
Hello, my name is Nur Hayani. Today I'm going to explain setting the novel of Emma. Of this novel is precisely in Highbury, England in the early 19th century, which includes several provincial communities, especially in the aristocratic region. Precisely revolving around Emma Big House and Emma Best Friend Farmhouse, and the school is run by several elderly women who fall into poverty. As Harry meets the gypsies on the road, Raymond is saved by Frank right next to the river at and a simple-looking living room with a view on Box Hill with a bed like the where George proposed to Emma. The characters in this novel portray diverse and human personalities related to social and human relationships as a typical noble cliché and has received such a high education with a good social status. And there is also something like the characteristic of someone who is of low social class with minimal education and social background. As in the portrayal of a character named Emma, she is struggling hard to get rid of her arrogance to deal with her fear of her feelings. Cause people around her misunderstand, just as in the feelings of Emma love for others, namely Mr. Elton and Harriet. He was very ambiguous toward both, and finally he realized that he fell in love with Lord Knightley after Harriet revealed the same thing to Emma. From this story, it is clear that the difference in social class will influence social relations, friendship, and even marriage, so that the time relation between women and men will filled with politeness with a great influence on people's views.
Syahrul Fahmi, I'm from group 7. In this session, I will read the plot of the novel that we have analyzed. So, let's start it. Emma Woodhouse, 20 years old. At the start of the novel, she is a young, beautiful, funny, and respectable woman. She lived in the elite settlement of the village of Highbury, Hertfordshire, Surrey, with her father, and George Knightley, Donwell, and his brother John. John became the husband of Emma's sister, Isabella. At the beginning of the novel, Emma has just attended the wedding of Miss Taylor with the future husband. He is Mr. Weston. Emma was instrumental in their marriage and decided that he liked arranged marriage. Emma continued her new hobby and tried to set up her new friend Harriet Smith with Mr. Elton. But before the thing she wanted to happen, Emma had to convince Harriet to reject a lucrative marriage proposal. The applicant, article farmer Robert Martin. But Emma proudly decided that she was not good enough for Harriet. Against his own will, Harriet, who is easily influenced, reject the proposal of Mr. Martin. And Emma tried to make herself fall in love with Frank, especially since almost everyone seemed to expect it. Frank seems to be dating Emma, and the two are flirting and joking with each other in public, at parties and on trips to Box Hill, a place that has beautiful views in their area. However, when her aunt was a claimant and was ill, Mr. Crutchhill asking Frank to come home, Emma realized that she did not miss the lover near her as they had hoped and arranged an arranged marriage between Frank and Harriet, who seemed to have forgotten Mr. Elton. Harriet painted to tell him that Frank had rescued himself from a group of gypsies and was seen admitting his admiration for Frank. Meanwhile, Mr. Weston thinks that Emma's old friend, Mr. Knightley, interested in Jane. Emma immediately refuted the idea and said that she didn't want Mr. Knightley is married to anyone, and that his little nephew Henry must inherit Donwell, the property of the Knightley family. There is one more matchmaking that happened with enthusiasm from Mr. Knightley. The farmer Robert Martin reapplied Harriet, and this time he accepted it. Jane and Emma make peace, and all misunderstandings are cleared before Jane and Frank leave for their marriage and live with their uncle in Yorkshire. Emma and Mr. Knightley decide that after marriage they would stay with Emma's father at Harfield to avoid Mr. Lonely and troubled Woodhouse. They seem to be heading for a union of perfect happiness.
My name is Siska Pratiwi. Now I will explain about the theme of this novel. It is a classic novel tells about Emma Woodhouse's life, who an almost perfect girl, beautiful, smart and rich. But the most interesting things about her figure is about her confidence in guessing the contents of other people's heart, and also interfering in other people's love affairs. The story begins with Emma, her best friend. Her name is Harriet Smith, a girl who is not really classy but very beautiful. There was a young man who liked Harris. His name is Mr. Martin, but Emma didn't approve it because when Emma looked at Mr. Martin, she thought he is not good enough for Harriet. Emma also matched Harriet with Mr. Elton. Mr. Elton often visited Hartford Emma's house, where Harriet also lived. Emma told Mr. Elton doing that because he was interested with Harris. Unexpectedly, it turns out that Mr. Elton likes Emma. Emma really hated to know about it. She became uneasy because Harriet had fallen in love with Mr. Elton. After accepting Emma's refusal, Mr. Elton went to London and married with a rich girl. A son of neighbor Emma, Frank Kirkhill, came on vacation to Emma's village. At first, Emma was attracted to him, but gradually Emma concluded that she was not in love with Frank. Beside Harriet and Frank looked close.
But Emma had to listen the news about Frank's engagement with Emma's neighbor, Jane Fairfax, who was very beautiful and more talented than Emma in playing piano. Emma kept this news from Harriet because she was worried to breaking Harriet's heart again for the second time. But apparently she was already know it by other people, and Emma was surprised. So Emma began to lose her confidence in guessing the feeling of others. Harriet was never interested in Frank. Harriet was interested with Mr. Knightley, brother of Emma's sister-in-law. Emma was so surprised because she realized one thing, that she had loved with Mr. Knightley for a long time, even though she knew if Harriet was her best friend, but it was very difficult for her to give up on her feelings. So I think enough for the theme of.
Hi everyone, I'm Nur Azizah, and next I will mention all of the characters of this novel. So the first one is Emma Woodhouse. Emma Woodhouse, the protagonist of the story. She is a beautiful girl, intelligent, smart, high spirit, and somewhat spoiled in her 20s. And his mother died when he was very young. When she was very young, and she was described as someone who cared deeply for the poor, but at the same time he upheld social class. The second one is Mr. George Knightley. She, he is 13 years old. He was a close friend of Emma and the only one who dared to criticize of her, even though he cared deeply about about her. Miss Knightley is the owner of the Donald Abbey estate. Person is Mr. Frank Churchill, son of Mr. Weston from his previous marriage. He was very friendly man, arranged to be liked by everyone except Mr. Knightley, who considered him quite mature. Um, Frank enjoy music, dancing, and enjoy life to the fullest. He also person is Miss Jane Fairfax. She only has an aunt and grandmother, and she is very beautiful, smart, elegant woman with good manners and also very educated and very talented at singing and playing the piano. Next is Mr. Harriet Smith, Emma's younger friend. She was very beautiful but simple and also easy to influence by others, especially Emma. Next is Mr. Philip Elton. Is a handsome man, young prince who seems kind, polite, and ambitious. Emma wants to marry Harris, but she dreams of proposing to Emma in marriage to get her property. Mr. Elton shows his nature by marrying another rich woman after Emma's refusal. Is Miss Augusta Elton. Uh, she is a wife from Mr. Elton, and she is rich and cannot have offspring and has good manners for the rich. She likes to break dominate and always act like woman who is the center of attention, feels competitive with Emma in social class, and also disliked by Emma and the environment. So the next one is Miss Anne Weston, or formerly Miss Taylor. She was Emma's nanny for 16 years and remained her closest and truest friend after she married Mr. Weston in the earlier chapter. And she is a wise woman who adores and idolizes Emma. And Mr. Weston served as her surrogate mother, sometimes as an excessive supporter, even though she gave up arguments. So the next person is Mr. Weston. Mr. Weston is an optimistic man who enjoys socializing. His friendship is so extensive that he almost lost value from Mr. Weston, is often blind to the mistakes of his son Frank. Is Miss Beth is an old, friendly, talkative spinster whose mother, and Miss Beth is Mr. Woodhouse's friend. He's nice. Jane Fairfax is the light of her life. One day, Emma humbled herself while they were on vacation out of town, when she sharply alluded to Miss Beth's worthy, rambling attitude. So next is Mr. Henry Woodhouse, or Emma's father, who always concentrate on his health and comfort, and as long as it doesn't not interfere the health and comfort of his friends. And he is parents who are difficult to manage because he is always fussy about trivial things. Next is Isabella Knightley, or Emma's eldest brother and Henry's son. She is married to John Knightley and spent his time caring for his 5 children. There is Henry, Little John, Bella, Little Emma, and George. And next is John Knightley, Isabella's husband and George's younger brother. He is an old acquaintance of Jane Fairfax. He obeys his family's wishes for traveling and vacation.
My name is Ode Iza Soraya Khadir. Today I will explain language novel of Emma. So the use of language in Emma novel is to use English. Emma novels is one of the best novel in English and also Jane Austen's most challenging and interesting book. But the use of the language is the more difficult standard language. If people who read Emma's novel are not ready to read more challenging, Emma's might not be the right book for people who want to read it. And there are still some other technical errors. Some people who read them always wear flinch. One of them is the Italian print consistence for the entire dialogue language, where sometimes there is also a dialogue that is no made italic. Then there are also some ambiguous sentences which sometimes people hang reading the Emma novels cannot interpret what they means. I think
Good morning, and let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Hayani, and today I want to share the moral value of novel Emma by Jane Austen. Well, after reading the novel Emma by Jane Austen, there is a persistent probing of surface appearance and values in the new novel Emma by Jane Austen. Emma is Miss Woodhouse, a convincing picture of wide-eyed naivety. An opening credit quotes her as handsome, clever, and rich. She is completely oblivious of how much she has to learn about human heart, not to mention the soul. Why I say like that? Because after having successfully married off her governess to widower, she turns her attention to matchmaking of her friends and her family, whether they like it or not. Emma tries palming of her friend's Harriet with a person Philip Elton. So the moral rule that can be taken in this novel is we as a woman should not to be selfish and force the will. Not only because of men, then we drop ourselves precisely by forcing the will without us knowing it slowly. And also, you will never know that what you do is liked by many people or just the opposite. And in my opinion, married daughter should not be a curse because marriage is sacred thing in someone's life. And if marriage by arranged marriage and they do not like each other, then assure that it will not last long. Instead, it will cause a destruction in someone's household. And also, the moral value that can be taken in this novel is we as a human should not like to interfere in other people's private matters. Because just imagine if your personal business is interfered by other people, I'm sure that you will not like it either. So let us take care of our own life while we still can. And also, if you really are not able to take care of yourself, then you can ask help from others. And also, we can interfere in other people's private matters if that person has asked help from us. Okay, I think that's enough for me, and I close by saying wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.